Max Verstappen. The three-time world champion is not only continuing to dominate the tracks like a true phenomenon, but now he's also starting to move his pieces behind the scenes with the precision of a brilliant strategist. What once seemed like a locked future with Red Bull through 2028 is now starting to shake, and it's no coincidence. According to recent reports, Verstappen has already begun talks with none other than Mercedes. Yes, the very same Mercedes that for years fiercely rivaled the Dutchman and his current team. What started as mere rumors is now taking on increasingly real contours, especially after the Austrian Grand Prix, where Max had to retire from a race and saw his lead over Oscar Piastri jump to 61 points. A sign? Maybe. But what came next was even more intriguing. The paddock buzzed with chatter. Toto Wolff, Mercedes team principal, and driver George Russell not only didn't deny the speculations, they practically gave a nod to the possibility. The name Max Verstappen, long coveted by the Silver Arrows, has never been closer to joining their ranks. And more. Insider sources suggest that Max himself has already given the much-anticipated yes to a proposal that came directly from Wolff. A bold move, but a carefully calculated one. But hold on. Even though the talks are progressing and the initial nod has been given, don't expect to see Verstappen in silver before 2027. That's right, this is a long-term plan. The transfer, by all indications, is being orchestrated to happen only after Formula One's new technical regulations are introduced in 2026. Until then, Max remains with Red Bull, watching, analyzing, and above all, wisely deciding his next big move. And it makes sense. The new regulations promise to change everything. Engines, aerodynamics, energy efficiency. It's a true reset on the F1 board. No team, no matter how powerful, has guaranteed success. Not even Mercedes. And Verstappen knows it. He's far too smart to make a blind bet. The plan? Stay with Red Bull through 2026, test the new engine developed in partnership with Ford, and then make the big decision. If the car doesn't perform, the path is already paved. Contract with Mercedes ready to be activated. That's where the genius of this move lies. Verstappen has created a strategic and secure escape route for himself. He's positioned himself so intelligently that if everything goes wrong with Red Bull, he already has an open door, with a red carpet, waiting at Mercedes. And right now, it's Red Bull that needs to step up. The Austrian team is on high alert. If they want to keep their biggest star, they'll have to prove in 2026 that they can still build a championship-worthy car. But the winds aren't blowing in Red Bull's favor. Max is already showing clear signs of dissatisfaction. He's increasingly frustrated with the inconsistent performance of the RB21 and with updates that seem to be making the car worse, not better. His confidence in Pierre Watch, the current technical director who replaced Adrian Newey, is also reportedly shaken. And Red Bull's big gamble, the in-house engine being developed with Ford, is surrounded by uncertainty. People close to the driver have confirmed Max is deeply reflecting on his future, and he knows 2026 could be a painful, even frustrating season. If Red Bull fails, Verstappen won't hesitate to walk away. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild, and the atmosphere in Milton Keynes seems more unstable than ever. Meanwhile, Mercedes is playing the quiet but deadly game. With Russell and young talent Kimi Antonelli already locked in through 2026, the team appears to be laying the groundwork for a true super team in 2027. And who better to lead that new project than Max Verstappen, one of the greatest talents motorsport has seen in recent times. The big question now is no longer if Verstappen will leave Red Bull, but when and where he'll go. And by the looks of it, he already knows the answers, even if he hasn't revealed them publicly. It's as if he's played an invisible checkmate on the F1 board, and now the other pieces are being forced to reposition themselves. This story promises more than just speed. It promises drama, intrigue, and a silent battle between two automotive giants. Red Bull, desperate to keep their jewel. Mercedes, patient and strategic, on the verge of pulling off the most explosive signing of the decade. And Verstappen, at the center of it all, proving his talent goes far beyond the steering wheel. If the news that Max Verstappen might be on the verge of leaving Red Bull for Mercedes had already put the Formula One paddock on high alert, things have now taken on even more dramatic and, dare we say, extremely strategic proportions. The board is shifting, and a new player is beginning to feel the pressure of the pieces around him, George Russell. Following the bombshell rumor involving Verstappen and a possible move to Mercedes in 2027, an analysis by former driver and current commentator Martin Brundle pointed out a detail few had noticed, but one that could be decisive. Amid preparations for the British Grand Prix, Brundle drew attention to something highly unusual. Russell, one of Mercedes' most consistent figures in recent years, still hasn't had his contract renewal announced. Sounds minor? It's not. In the world of Formula One, where decisions are timed to the millisecond and contracts are renewed months in advance, this silence surrounding Russell's future sounds more like a blaring alarm, especially coming from Mercedes, a team known for its precision, leaving a top-tier driver in standby mode, right when the Verstappen rumors are gaining momentum. Martin Brundle didn't mince words. It's strange. George is delivering results. He's a Mercedes veteran, filled in for Hamilton effectively, and yet his future remains unclear. That only reinforces that something is happening behind the scenes. And if no one is firmly denying that Verstappen is talking with Mercedes, then something really big is going on. And what could that something be? The answer may lie in the figure of Kimi Antonelli, Mercedes' young prodigy, seen as the future of the team. Team principal Toto Wolff seems determined to give the Italian wonderkid a seat on the grid starting in 2026. But here comes the dilemma. With Max Verstappen potentially arriving in 2027, who would be the ideal partner next to the most dominant driver of the past decade? The answer, it seems, is not George Russell. That's right. Despite being in one of the best phases of his career, the Brit could be passed over to make way for a Verstappen-Antonelli duo. An explosive mix of experience and youth that, on paper, could usher in a new golden era for the Silver Arrows. But in practice, it could be a risky move. Brundle was even more direct. Would Mercedes really risk pairing teenage Antonelli with Verstappen? Max has broken several teammates emotionally with his relentless pace. He's not easy to manage. Do you really want to let go of Russell, a driver raised within the Mercedes system, to bet on such a young prospect under that kind of pressure? Russell, for his part, isn't standing still. Sources suggest he has already begun talks with other teams, and there's no shortage of interest. Aston Martin is emerging as a strong option, especially if Fernando Alonso decides to retire. Red Bull is also reportedly watching closely and could make Russell a direct replacement for Verstappen if the Dutchman does leave. Alpine and even newcomer Cadillac, expected to enter F1 strongly in 2026, are also seen as possible destinations. In this game of chess initiated by Verstappen's quiet moves, George Russell may be the most valuable pawn being sacrificed. And Mercedes, by all accounts, is willing to pay that price in the name of a glorious future. But there's another intriguing element: the relationship between Verstappen and Antonelli. At the Austrian Grand Prix, after a collision, Max was seen consoling the young Italian with an almost paternal attitude, a rare gesture from someone known for his ruthless competitive spirit. It raised eyebrows. Could Verstappen already be mentoring his future teammate? Is Wolff quietly building not just a signing, but a legacy? Whatever the case, the message is clear. Mercedes' project for 2027 is more ambitious than anyone expected. It's not just about bringing in Verstappen. It's about rebuilding the empire lost since Hamilton's glory days. And to achieve that, no one is safe. Not even George Russell, the team's homegrown talent. While Red Bull scrambles to regain the trust of their biggest star, and Verstappen keeps one foot in and one foot out, Mercedes continues its plan like a silent and ruthless machine. If the 2026 engine truly turns out to be the fastest, and Antonelli lives up to the hype, Verstappen will have the perfect platform to return to the top, and all of it without taking a single immediate risk. We're witnessing a game of musical chairs that could completely reshape the F1 grid in the coming years. Verstappen has already made the first move. Russell is the first threatened piece. Antonelli is the bold gamble, and Toto Wolff is the conductor of a plan that could go down in history. If you thought the drama in Formula One only happened on the track, it's time to pay attention to what's happening off the spotlight. Because this story is far from over, and it promises plot twists worthy of a blockbuster film.